I'm having y'all focus in this entry task about something that you are proud of about yourself is because the project at the end of this week is an About Me page. Very simply, using at least one image and a couple of text-based tags. I'll go over all that here shortly. But I want you thinking about, because it is very difficult to get lost in the shuffle of everything we need to complete and everything that must get done. It's easy to forget that we bring a lot to the table, right? And helping you remember that by creating a page like this is just something I think is important, which is why we're doing it. What are we doing this week? 2:19 to 2:13, or 2:9 to 2:13. This is our last week before midwinter break. In case you forgot, we don't have school at all next week, which is why I just want us to continue practicing HTML. The skills we're going to keep continuing to practice are creating pages, since that's all the web design boils down to. Keeping them simple, keeping them easy, keeping them formulaic so you get the practice. And then later this week we're going to get into some basic styling. Okay? Also, we'll have the official syllabus by Friday 2:13, going through everything in this class that I expect from you, you should expect from me, as well as a couple other rules we haven't gone over quite yet. Okay? What we're doing today is I'm showing you how to get images off of the internet. We'll do local images later. Local images are ones that you put into a folder. Perhaps it's photography you've taken. Perhaps it's pictures from your phone that aren't hosted online like Google Images style. We'll do that later. For now, we're just going to stick online. If you need to finish up any past assignments like A1 or A2, you have some time to do that today. And I want to introduce project number 1, which will be due at midnight on Friday and is open all the way through break in case you need to finish it up from home. Okay? What are our outcomes from today? Obviously, HTML practice. That's what we're doing a lot this week. Continuing to use VS Code, the app, practice. Different types of referencing materials that I've created, referencing materials that your nearby neighbors use, W3 Schools, YouTube, etc., as well as showing off. Like I mentioned right at the start of the day, it doesn't hurt to show off a little bit, right? You don't want to be too mean about it. And at the same time, you should be proud of the stuff that you've done. Because y'all have done a lot compared to what I was doing when I was your age. Y'all are busy in a good way. Your objectives for today: setting up an HTML page. We're going to set up a folder a little bit later, so ignore that. Images is number 1, and then project number 1 I also want to get into here in a second. So we'll talk about the About Me page here briefly, but your methods are to apply what we practiced last week, using different memory tools to describe yourselves and elaborate on your accomplishments, your cool stuff, your details, your space on the internet that you get to claim by having this skill, as well as using formulas consistently, keeping tags assembled the same way every time. And then a little bit later today, and especially this week, we're going to get into this idea of source coding, where you copy against yourself, so you don't have to, it doesn't count as plagiarism. Anyway, we'll track your progress a little bit later. So if you go to the home page here, I want to show you first that I've updated the modules as well as posted your grades for, let me go back to student view, I've posted your grades for your January entry and exit tasks. Even if you did not do them, you get the points because that was our first couple days together and scheduling was all happening around. So, everybody's got an A in this class right now. Congratulations. Nicely done. Unfortunately, because the entry tasks are graded, it does kind of clog up the grade book a little bit. So you can see in modules what each of the grade categories are. For example, these are all of our process assignments. You'll see our first project is right here that I'll go over here shortly. And then the sample final, you don't have to do anything for that. That's just for gradebook purposes. But importantly, too, is this weekly archive. Those are our 2 weeks that we've spent in web design so far. So every Monday, I take the home page from Canvas that has all the links, all the videos, all the etc. resources, and I put it in this archive right here. So if you're gone for an extended period of time, or you need to remember how to do something, it's all going to be stored in that weekly archive. Kind of like a textbook, but a little bit more interactive. And then don't worry about the process archive. Let's take a look real quick at project number 1, the About Me page. Very simple. All right, due Friday by midnight, open all the way through break until the Friday after. So you have until the end of February to submit this. I recommend you submit it by Friday, though, because you have Jake and myself in here to help you out with it. And I can grade it over break and get you an updated grade. Okay? So, by this Friday, what we're doing is creating a simple All About Me page. You need to use 2 to 3 text-based elements to describe your hobbies, your interests, different accomplishments, different details about yourself that you're proud of, and that's worth 10 points. Some examples of what this could look like: picking 3 different text-based tags. You could describe an event that has occurred and how it affected you, positive or negative. You could provide advice or guidance for anybody who visits your site, even though it's not technically on the internet yet. We'll get to that later in the semester. You can provide advice or guidance, and you can write something very simple like a basic journal entry or basic to-do list. And if you use a different text-based element for each of those 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, you'll get 10 points as part of this project. If you look at the criteria for text-based, you'll see a couple examples here. If you pick half of these, because that'll be 2 out of 4, you'll be in a good spot, and I'll show you a couple more throughout the week. You had a question, Kara?
Can you change the color of the text? Does that count as 3 different text-based?
That's actually number 3, which we'll get into a little bit later. So they have to be different elements. So if it's 3 paragraphs with 3 different styles, that's still only 1 type of text-based. What we're going to talk about today, before I address Kara's question, which is good, I want to show you how to get an image on your site, an online-only image. I'm going to go through the process of that real quick. Now we'll keep it online only, and we'll do local folder-based images soon. And then later this week, we're also going to talk about styling. Some of you have already experimented with this, like centering or aligning your text. Good. So you'll be able to help your nearby neighbors. Changing fonts, changing colors, changing sizes, all stuff like that is basic styling, because we make them work first and we make them pretty later, is your web design thing to remember. Okay, I want to show you how to start getting images onto your HTML pages. All right. So to do that, I'm going to open up VS Code by clicking on my Start menu, VSC, and then I'm going to go so that it does not, that looks like the basic startup, oops, shoot, I clicked the wrong button. Start over. Okay, so we have not opened any folders yet, right? We're not at this point quite yet. Let me make sure everybody's paying attention. Thank you. You are. We're going to start another new file just for example's sake today. This could be for practice with what I'm showing you, or you could set up and save your About Me project, because it's both going to be the same type of HTML. I will let you decide. All right? So I'm going to start a new file, and I'm going to make sure that I click text file and not Jupyter Notebook, because we don't want that one right now. We want a text file, and we're going to select a language just like we have been selecting so far. Scroll down because it's alphabetical until we get HTML, and then I need to start writing the very first, very important basic HTML tag for a page, which is what? Not a trick question. What 4 letters do I need to start with? HTML, exactly. So should I just type it like this? Or am I missing some important symbols? I'm seeing some hands. We need to have our brackets. Shift comma to make the first alligator mouth, HTML. Shift period. Sometimes it will automatically add the end tag. Sometimes it won't. How do you tell the difference between a start tag and an end tag? Slash. At the beginning or at the end? Beginning. Right here. Exactly. So now we've told our computer, read this recipe as an HTML recipe. And it's going to go, got it. But right now there's no ingredients or steps on the recipe, because the ingredient or the step that I want to show you is the tag IMG. Now, y'all know that every HTML tag, or almost every HTML tag, let me get my pointer up real quick. Almost every HTML tag needs a twin, right? These HTML tags are twins right here. Image is one of the first ones that does not need an end tag. It is one of the ones that does not have a twin. It is an only child. It's your first practice. Yes? Go ahead, Sai. That works too, yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? For now, we're keeping it very basic. So we're going to type out shift comma to start another tag. Remember, we're always going to need these alligator mouths in order for our tags to work. And the tag we're going to work with today is IMG. Okay? Now, what's going on with my line number 3, my HTML end tag? What's going on there? Does it look right, or does it look angry? It's angry. It's mad. Does anybody know why this end HTML tag is mad? Very true. our image tag is currently bottomless, which means the computer's not going to know when to stop reading, and it's going to look for an image for all eternity, and it's never going to close the cookbook. Okay? But before we close our image tag, there is a very important addition that we need to add after the letter G, which is called an attribute. Attributes are extra little pieces of info that go inside of your HTML elements to change the way that they look. For now, it's going to be the letters SRC. Any guesses for what SRC stands for? Not scary. That's a good guess, though. Source. It's our image source. Okay? So we're going to type the letters SRC, not XC, SRC, and you're going to see it pop up right here. If I click on this, or if you click on this, if you're following along, what happens? What did it add? Equals and quotation marks. Equals and quotation marks. Again, your computer is a very, very literal creature. You have to tell it exactly what to look for. But we don't have a source to tell it to look at right now, which is what I'm going to show you how to do. Okay? For example's sake, I'm going to use the Seahawks logo because they performed very well yesterday. It was a fun game to watch. I'm going to get the Seahawks logo, but I need to isolate it. Okay? Let me show you how to do that. So, if I were just to Google the Seahawks, if I can spell it right, logo, this is a ton of information because this is just the default web results. If I click on the link I clicked on in fourth period, this has imagery, this has cool stuff, but it's also got a ton of other functions. It's got a ton of text, it's got a ton of JavaScript, changing the page, a ton of styling, logos, links, a whole bunch of crap that we don't need right now. Okay? In order for me to get an image, I need to get the image isolated with a URL. Anybody know what URL stands for? It's okay. It's one of the boring ones. Huh? URL. Not quite. No. It is Universal Resource Locator. So we need to get that resource located, kind of like finding an address. So if I go to my Images tab, there's a ton of different Seahawks logos that I can work with. But I'm going to pick this green one right here. By clicking on it, it's not quite isolated yet. Even though it is taking up a majority of my screen, and it kind of feels like it's focused, the computer still doesn't know exactly what to look at when it's reading this recipe. And in order to do that, we need to get the image by itself by right-clicking and looking for something that says Open Image in a New Tab. This is where mine is on Firefox. Yours might be in a little bit of a different position, but you want to find an image that you like, right-click on it with your middle finger, Open Image in a New Tab, and you're going to see it pop open right over here. Now all we have is our Seahawks logo with a little bit of extra stuff on the side. Okay? We've cut out a lot of that additional data. We've told our computer exactly where we want it to look for this image. This has become our SRC. And for today, I only want you to use images you can find online. You can do this with your own imagery, but that takes a little bit more setup. I want you to practice writing image tags first. Okay? Any guesses on where I could grab the source? Perhaps it's an URL type acronym that we talked about earlier. Yeah, the URL. I'm going to take this entire URL up here and copy it, either with Control-C or right-clicking and copying. And then I'm going to go back to VS Code and paste it inside of the quotation marks. Right-click, paste, like so. Okay? Am I done? Make a guess. Am I done yet? No. Why am I not done? Exactly. I see the fingers. We need a shift period to close off our image tag. Right? Shift period makes our HTML happy. You can see that the source is input correctly because it doesn't have any like red underlines like you might see in Google Docs or Word for spell check. And it's kind of this by default like coppery brown color. Right? It's kind of bronze. The last step I need to do before I see this is to save my work. Right now you can see I see this, there's a white dot right here. If you're following along with me, does anybody else see this little white dot? That white dot means you have not saved your work. And in order to get rid of it, you hold Control-S, and it will turn into a file dialog box, because we've got to put it somewhere. Put it in your documents for now. Don't put it in your downloads, because downloads can accidentally get deleted. Every time the computer turns off, I think it deletes the downloads. Click on Documents. I'm going to call this Image Practice, and then I'm going to put my last name on it. So if you're following along with me as I'm doing this, you can do the same thing. Let me make sure I don't have that same thing. Okay. Image practice. Oh, I spelled practice wrong. Not practive. Practice. I'm going to click save. You're going to see the file name change right here. Now if I go over and click on my run and debug icon, the little play button with the beetle over here on this part of VS Code, I click run and debug. It's going to ask me Chrome or Edge, depending on which browser I want to use. I'm going to stick with Edge. And you're going to see on my output is that exact image taken away from the internet and put onto my specific HTML file. However, it's pretty large. As y'all find out, if you're using pictures from like your Google Photos publicly accessible, if you're taking high resolution camera photography, these pictures are huge. These pictures can be massive. The last thing I want to show you before I want you to experiment with your own isolating images and saving the HTML, coding it with an image tag, is the width attribute. So we just got introduced to attributes. How can you tell the difference based on the color between a tag and an attribute? Which is lighter? I heard it. Attribute. The attributes are lighter. See how the SRC is like a lighter blue than the IMG? Attributes are going to be a different color than tags.
So a tag is always so pretend that the colors don't exist. So the tag is the first word and any subsequent words are attributes.
Very true. So the one closest to the alligator mouth is the tag. So anything after is going to be an attribute. The attribute I want you to add is the word width. W-I-D-T-H. Not with an extra G, because I spelled it wrong. Width. And you're going to see this little pop-up here, just like when we typed SRC, that's going to give you equals quotes. Okay? If you want to make your image smaller, you make this a percentage less than 100. I always start with like 20 or 30%. If you want to make it bigger, you just go above 100. So if I wanted to make this much bigger, say I wanted this to be 300% larger, I hit Control S to save, and then I click on my green refresh right here, so that when I go back to my output, I have this massive Seahawks logo. Just ginormous. Just far too large. Okay? However, if I make my width less than 100, for example, we cut a 0 and make it 30%, Control S, double click my green restart right here, that's going to make it a little bit smaller. And we can reduce it all the way down to, let's make it 1% width. All right, Control S, restart, teeny tiny, infant little baby emoji Seahawks logo right up in the top left corner. Okay? So the two attributes that are super, super useful when you're adding images, the required one is the source, and then an optional width, only width. If you change height, it starts to get a little funky. If you change width and you set it to a percentage, it will do the math for you. Those are the two attributes I want you to experiment with today. First, you isolate your image, then you encode it into your HTML document, making sure you have all the right pieces, and then set a width in case it's too big, or make it larger if you need to. Does that make sense? This is how you get your 5 points for having at least one image on your final site by Friday. For now, just use the ones that live on the internet. We will do custom images a little bit later. And that's what I want us to practice today. Before I wander around and help you with your specific questions, does anybody have any general questions? Anything related to what I've showed you? Are we good? Okay. Jake or I will be available to get these simple online-only images encoded onto your pages. And you want to think about what kind of images you want to add to your final About Me page. All right? We'll spend about 20 minutes. Let me check. This is 5th. Maybe 15. I want to give us 10 minutes for the exit task today. Okay. Good luck. 4th period was very successful. I think you will be very successful as well. So what we're practicing today is online images. Okay. Screen share should still be up. I'm going to go quick. So, focus on either the projector behind me or your screen share. You know you're getting it today. You know it's making sense. If you continue to know how to build HTML tags, what I'm seeing so far is great. Excellently done. I'm very proud, very impressed. You should be as well. Y'all are doing great. You're all on track in this regard. What we learned today was understanding how to isolate an online image. Again, because I've seen all of your different examples, you've all done it correctly. That's good. Remember that because it's a formula. We're going to keep doing it the same way every time. Okay? You've begun a little bit of work on project number 1. By doing your entry task, you've actually begun on project number 1 just a little bit. And what we're going to get to right now is syncing OneDrive. And I think there's not an H in syncing, now that I look at it. But, again, I don't teach spelling. So, why are we doing this? Again, to further reiterate, these are a lot of things I've said already, and you will get very sick of me saying by the end of the semester, because I say it all the time, because I want you to remember, the process is more valuable than the product when it comes to learning something. Okay? By understanding how these pieces work together, by understanding how to make them work if it's not exactly one-to-one like what I'm showing you, that's going to be more important than what you turn in or what you get graded on, if that makes sense. This is only well, maybe not only, but majorly while you're learning, is process is more important than product. Again, practice doesn't make perfect because perfect doesn't exist. Practice makes permanent, and it will stick. The more you practice it, and the more you do it wrong, and the more you learn why it's wrong, the more permanent it becomes. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm not upset at you if it's not perfect. I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be permanent. And then, overall, like I mentioned in the entry task kind of briefly, understanding yourself is going to improve all aspects of your life by knowing who you are. And believe me, you got plenty of life to figure out who you are. You don't have to have it down by high school. I certainly did not. Okay? I definitely did not. Understanding who you are improves all aspects of your life. And by completing stuff like About Me pages, you learn a bit about yourself. Okay? So for your exit task, everybody should sync their OneDrive. Now what this means is that the computer that you sync OneDrive to, where it happen is the computer where it will happen automatically. So if you're moving around computers, you might have to sync OneDrive multiple times. However, if you are happy with your current seat and your current seat number, once you sync OneDrive, it will stay synced. Okay? In order to do this, you click on the little gray cloud in the bottom right corner of your taskbar. It should be a gray cloud with a little slash on it. Alright? And if you can't see your taskbar, hit the Windows icon and it should pop back up. You want to turn that gray cloud into a blue cloud. And you do that by clicking Sign In and then mashing through all of the next, later, next, until you see the phrase Open My OneDrive folder. Once you have opened your OneDrive folder, everything will be synced. And that's what I want to give us a little extra time for today, because I want to check and make sure you've done that. Once you've done that, you can post your favorite kind of weather to the exit task. But the main purpose of the exit task is to get your OneDrive synced. The reason we do the OneDrive sync is because you can then access any of your materials, any of your code, any of your additional stuff from your home computer as well as from this computer. And it's got a lot more storage that's a lot safer than just saving it directly to the computers. Okay? So I'm going to walk around and see whose OneDrive still needs to be synced. So you click on the gray cloud with a slash through it. Click all the buttons until it says, until it turns into a blue cloud with no slash. And you only have to do this on my computers. It automatically does it on yours, on your laptop. Good. Next. You click yes. Because it's here. Yep. So open my OneDrive folder. Then you click next, all the way through. You can skip whatever until it says open my OneDrive folder. Once you do that, then you'll stream
How did you do it?
fully. Click next. Okay. Click next, so you should get through all those clarity, type on your stuff. Okay, looks good. Okay, there's the syncing. Yep. Clicking next. No, isn't it right? Okay. And then, sir, were you able to open your OneDrive folder? Okay. And then, Evan, you open your OneDrive folder.